There are stories that don't just inform us, they crack us open. Stories that force us to question everything we think we know about life, death, and who we really are. This is one of those stories. Today, you will hear the testimony of Sofia, a 32-year-old archaeologist from Malaga, Spain. A woman of science, a woman of logic. Someone who believed only in what she could touch, verify, and catalog into facts, until the day she died. For the doctors in the emergency room, she was gone. Her heart had stopped. But for Sofia, the real story was just beginning. Before we enter her experience, I want you to understand who she was, because that's what makes her testimony so powerful. Sofia lived a grounded, realistic life. Her world was built on stones, tools, and forgotten civilizations buried beneath the soil. Her job was to dig up the past, to search for truth beneath layers of illusion, ironically, without knowing she would soon face the ultimate truth buried within herself. She wasn't spiritual, she wasn't religious. She respected people who were, but she didn't need that kind of belief. She believed in rationality, in carbon dating, in archaeological evidence. But 3 months before her death, something had shaken her foundation. Her father passed away after a brief illness. Sofia, who had spent her entire career excavating ancient tombs, burying civilizations that had been dead for millennia, suddenly found herself placing flowers on her father's grave. And she felt nothing. Not grief, not peace, not connection, just emptiness. She remembers standing there staring at the freshly turned earth and thinking, I've uncovered burial sites from the Bronze Age. I've held funeral urns from people who lived 3,000 years ago. But standing here at my own father's grave, I feel nothing. Is this it? Is this all we are? Dust returning to dust? That question haunted her for months. She threw herself deeper into her work, excavating a Roman settlement outside Cordoba, hoping the past would distract her from the present. It didn't, until reason could no longer explain what happened to her. One evening in late September, Sofia was alone in her apartment, cataloging pottery fragments from the dig site. Classical music played softly in the background. Satie's Gymnopédies. She remembers the exact moment because she had just labeled a piece. Terra Sigillata, circa 150 AD, probable dining vessel. Then, an unexpected pain tore through her abdomen. Sharp, violent, like something inside her was ripping apart. She gasped, and the pottery shard fell from her hand, shattering on the floor. The pain intensified. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. She managed to grab her phone and dial emergency services before collapsing. The next thing she remembers is the wail of sirens, harsh lights, strangers lifting her onto a stretcher. Doctors later suspected a sudden rupture of an ovarian cyst that triggered massive internal hemorrhage. Alarms rang, nurses rushed, voices shouted medical codes she didn't understand. Then silence, not silence in the room, silence inside her, and in that silence, awareness expanded.
I remember the pain. It was unbearable, like my body was tearing itself apart from the inside. The sound of medical machines pounding in my ears, people shouting, hands on my chest, a mask over my face. Then, like somebody flipped a switch, everything stopped. Not outside, inside. The pain was gone. The fear was gone. The panic just erased. And that's when I realized I was no longer in my body. I was above it. Floating, but floating isn't the right word. I was positioned, suspended, aware, but not like in a dream. It was clearer than waking reality, sharper, more vivid. I could see everything at once, the doctors working on my body below, the light reflecting off surgical instruments, even the loose strand of hair on one nurse's forehead that had escaped her cap. I noticed the clock on the wall, 9:47 p.m. I noticed the coffee stain on one doctor's white coat. I noticed my own body, pale, lifeless, chest being compressed rhythmically, and I thought with strange detachment, that poor woman looks exhausted. It took me a moment to realize that woman was me, but I wasn't scared. I wasn't confused. I felt more myself than I had ever been while alive. I felt more awake than I'd ever been in my 32 years of so-called living. I remember wanting to tell them, "It's okay. Don't panic. I'm fine. I'm free. Stop hurting that body. I'm not in it anymore." But I had no voice, no mouth, no physical form, just pure awareness. And then I felt it, a pull. What happened next, I don't have the right words for. I didn't walk. I didn't fly. I was drawn, gently, like a tide pulling me back to the ocean. Ahead of me, there was a tunnel, but not made of stone or brick or light. It was made of energy, like liquid darkness, warm and alive, rippling, vibrating, breathing. The walls weren't solid. They were made of what looked like flowing consciousness itself. And within the darkness, there were colors I'd never seen before. Colors that don't exist in our spectrum. I can't describe them because we don't have names for them. There was no fear, only invitation. I moved without moving, faster than thought, and then the light. But calling it light isn't enough. It's like calling the ocean water. Technically true, but it misses everything. It was a presence, a living sun, brighter than anything I've seen, brighter than staring directly at the sun. Yet it didn't burn. It didn't hurt. It soothed. It embraced. It welcomed me home. And within that light was someone. Not a man, not a woman, not an angel with wings or a god with a name. Just pure consciousness, pure love, pure being. We didn't speak, yet I received everything. Every question I'd ever had was answered before I could ask. Every doubt dissolved before it could arise. And then the love hit me. Not love like we know it here, conditional, transactional, insecure, needy. This was love as a force. Love as an atmosphere. Love as the fabric of reality itself. It entered me like warm water, filling every crack of my soul. For the first time in my life, I knew I was loved, completely, eternally, without earning it, without performing, without proving my worth. I was loved simply because I existed, and in that moment, I understood this is what my father became, not dust, not nothing, this. In that love, something began to melt. Sofia, the archaeologist. Sofia, the daughter who couldn't cry at her father's funeral. Sofia, the skeptic who needed proof for everything. All those labels, all the stories I told myself about who I was, they started falling away like dry leaves in autumn wind. And what remained wasn't me. It was everything. I didn't just feel connected to the universe. I was the universe. I was the stars dying in distant galaxies. I was the ocean breathing on foreign shores. I was every heartbeat of every creature that ever lived. I was my father. I was the nurse trying to save my body. I was the pottery shard I had dropped. I was the ancient Roman who crafted it 2,000 years ago. There was no boundary, no separation, no me and you, only one. And I understood with absolute clarity, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Separation is the illusion. Oneness is the truth. I laughed without a body, without a voice, at how obvious it all was. How had I missed this? How had humanity missed this? We spend our entire lives thinking we're separate, when we've always been one. Just when I thought I had fully merged with that light, something shifted. I was shown my life, but it wasn't like remembering. It wasn't watching a movie. It was reliving from both sides. I didn't just see my actions. I felt the consequences. Every thought, every word, every deed, experienced from the perspective of everyone I'd ever affected. The first memory hit me like a freight train. I was 16 years old. My mother had canceled a party I wanted to throw because my grades had dropped. I screamed at her in the kitchen. "I hate you. You ruined everything. I wish you weren't my mother." I'd completely forgotten that moment, buried it, but she hadn't. And suddenly, I was her. I felt the words like daggers in the chest, the shock, the heartbreak, the nights she lay awake wondering where she'd gone wrong as a mother. Years of pain from one sentence I didn't even remember saying. I wanted to scream, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I was just a stupid teenager." But there was no judgment from the light, no condemnation, only understanding, only compassion. Then another memory, age 20, my mother trying to talk to me about her day, but I was absorbed in my phone, scrolling through nothing important. She gave up and walked away quietly. And I felt her loneliness, the small, silent sting in her chest, the sadness of being ignored by the person she loved most. I saw myself at 24 rolling my eyes at a colleague during a meeting when she suggested an idea I thought was stupid. And suddenly, I was inside her, feeling the humiliation, the embarrassment, the voice in her head whispering, "You're not smart enough. You don't belong here." That eye roll, 2 seconds of my life, became months of self-doubt in hers. But there were beautiful moments too. I saw myself at 19, sitting beside my grandmother in the hospital, holding her hand in silence during her final days. I barely remembered it, but she did. And I felt her comfort flooding through me, like a warm blanket being wrapped around a tired heart, the peace of not dying alone. I saw myself helping a lost tourist in Malaga when I was 27, an elderly Japanese woman, crying because she'd been separated from her tour group. I walked her back to her hotel. I never thought about it again, but she did, for years. And in that moment, I felt the entire cascade of gratitude, relief, and restored faith in humanity that simple act had given her. There were no punishments, no external judgments, no angry God tallying my sins. The light wasn't condemning me. I was understanding myself, and the message was crystal clear. Every moment of kindness echoes through eternity. Every moment of cruelty does too. Love is the only currency that matters here. We are all connected. When you hurt someone, you hurt yourself. When you heal someone, you heal yourself. This isn't morality. This isn't religion. This is physics. This is truth. I didn't want to leave. In that light, I felt home for the first time in my existence. I felt complete, whole, free. All the questions that haunted me about my father, about death, about meaning, they all dissolved. Because I saw him, not his body, not his memory, him, the essence of who he was, still existing, still loving me, never gone. We didn't speak, but I felt him say, "I've been here the whole time, mi niña, waiting, loving you. You were never alone." The grief I'd carried for months evaporated. But then, without words, the presence made me know. You can stay, but your work is not finished. It didn't command me. It didn't guilt me. It trusted me to choose. And in that instant, I remembered the faces of people I loved, people who still lived in fear, people who believed they were alone like I once did, people standing at graves feeling nothing, just as I had. For the first time, I didn't return out of fear of death. I returned out of love for life. I said, without words, "Send me back. I'll remember, I'll tell them." The light embraced me one final time, and then impact. Like being slammed into ice water after floating in a warm bath. Noise, cold, weight, pain, the suffocating heaviness of a body, and breath, gasping, violent, desperate breath. I opened my eyes to see the doctors staring at me in shock. one of them whispered, "She's back. Oh my God, she's back." They told me later my heart had flatlined for 7 minutes. They said I was lucky to be alive, but I didn't feel lucky. I felt reborn.
Sofia returned to work 3 months later. She went back to the excavation site outside Cordoba, back to the pottery shards, back to the bones of the dead. But everything was different. When she held a 2,000-year-old ceramic bowl in her hands, she no longer saw a dead object from a dead civilization. She saw the hands that shaped it, the life that used it, the consciousness that animated those hands. And she knew, with absolute certainty, that person still exists. Not as a ghost, not as a memory, but as part of that light. And one day, she and that ancient potter will be one again. Sofia still doesn't call herself religious, but she no longer calls herself a skeptic either. She calls herself awake. From her story, 3 truths stand unshakable. Consciousness survives death. What we are is not the body, but the awareness using it. The brain doesn't create consciousness. It receives it. Like a radio doesn't create music, it channels it. Love is not an emotion. It is the structure of existence. The light wasn't judging her, it was her true self, her eternal self. We are made of love by love for love. Our purpose is simple: to love, to heal, to uplift. Every thought, every action, every word leaves an imprint on souls. Not because a God is watching, but because we are all connected. When you hurt someone, you hurt the universe. When you heal someone, you heal the universe. Sofia died to learn this truth, but you don't have to. Tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself one question. If I died tomorrow, would my life review be a sunrise or a storm? Would you feel pride or shame, peace or regret, love received and given, or love withheld and wasted? If that question makes you uncomfortable, then you already know what needs to change. Because one day, whether in 50 years or 5 minutes, you will return to that light too. And when you do, every careless word will be refelt. Every act of kindness will be relived. Every moment of love will echo through eternity. So live differently, starting now. Be present with the people in front of you. Be kind to the strangers you pass. Be the love you're made of. Because Sofia learned something that changed everything. We are not bodies with souls. We are souls with bodies. And when the body falls away, the real you remains. Forever. Loved.